Three families own more than 165 million Americans combined. While you're crushed by debt, they're draining profits from your water, your land, your future, and you never even knew they owned it. Americans, trapped in a system rigged to keep you poor. The top 10% sees 70% of the nation's wealth, and it's accelerating. This wasn't a glitch. It was designed. What I'm about to reveal will either change how you think about money forever, or leave you wondering why nobody told you this before. And the names you think control it all? They're just the decoys. So ask yourself, if you were being robbed in slow motion, would you even notice? The bloodline advantage nobody talks about behind every headline billionaire stands a shadow empire you'll never see coming. The Forbes list is a lie designed to distract you from the real money. While Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos fight for headlines about who's richer this week, families you've never heard of control more wealth than entire continents. They want you obsessing over tech billionaires because it keeps your eyes off them. The Waltons made their fortune selling cheap stuff to poor people at Walmart. Bezos built Amazon by burning through investor cash until he killed every competitor. Musk? He's basically a walking meme who bought his way into Tesla and PayPal. These guys are loud, flashy, and constantly in the news. That's exactly how old money families like it. Here's what they don't want you to know. The Rothschild banking empire still operates across multiple continents today, not 200 years ago. Right now, they maintain significant influence in banking and finance across numerous countries. Most people think they're just some old European family that used to matter. Wrong. They matter more today than ever, and they've gotten really good at staying invisible. The Rockefellers maintain stakes in major oil companies, pharmaceutical investments, and educational institutions across America. Through their foundations and philanthropic grants to universities and think tanks, they shape academic curricula and policy discussions. They fund research that influences which directions entire industries take. John D. Rockefeller died almost 100 years ago, but his family still wields influence through foundations and investment vehicles with boring names like Standard Oil Trust Company. New money fights for magazine covers. Old money shapes the conversation. Bezos bought the Washington Post for pocket change. The old families? Many channel resources through academic institutions and policy organizations that influence how entire industries develop. They don't need to buy media companies when they can fund the research and thinking that shapes entire fields of knowledge. Here's the brutal math that will make you sick. Elon's $200 billion fortune sounds massive until you realize the scale these families operate on. Norway's sovereign wealth fund exceeds $1.4 trillion and rivals many dynastic fortunes. The difference is, Elon's wealth goes up and down with Tesla stock. Their wealth has been growing steadily for centuries. New money gets rich fast and loses it faster. Wealthy families often struggle to maintain wealth across generations. It's a well-documented pattern where fortunes dissipate over time. But old money families? They've been rich for 20 generations and counting. They've survived wars, recessions, market crashes, and government collapses. They know something new money doesn't. The brutal truth old money families desperately hide from you is this: they've mastered invisibility. The less you see them, the more they own. While new money billionaires buy sports teams and space rockets to stroke their egos, old money families quietly buy water rights, farmland, and rare earth minerals. They own the stuff you need to survive, not the flashy toys that grab headlines. They figured out the ultimate cheat code. When you're invisible, nobody blames you for inequality. Nobody protests outside your house. Nobody writes angry articles about your wealth. You can influence markets and shape policy without anyone connecting the dots back to you. It's like being a puppet master where nobody can see the strings. But their real secret weapon isn't money or invisibility. It's something that compounds across centuries and makes every dollar you earn look like pocket change. The psychology behind how they think about wealth will change everything you believe about money. The 200-year multiplication machine. Stop thinking about getting rich and start thinking like you're already rich. That's the first rule these families follow religiously. While you're panicking about next month's rent payment, they're making investment decisions for kids who haven't been born yet. Your brain is wired for survival mode. Their brains are programmed for dynasty mode. The Vanderbilts had more money than God in the 1800s. Cornelius Vanderbilt was worth $100 million when he died, which equals about $2.3 billion today. His family threw lavish parties that cost more than most people earn in a lifetime. They built mansions with 250 rooms. They owned private railroads and steamship lines. Within a few generations, their fortune had largely dissipated. They lost everything because they spent like there was no tomorrow. Smart old money families studied that disaster like it was their personal horror movie. They learned that wealth without discipline equals poverty with a time delay. The families that survive don't make the same mistakes. They don't chase shiny objects or hot investment trends. No crypto gambling, no tech stock speculation, no trendy startups that promise to change the world. Instead, they buy the most boring companies on earth: water utilities, grocery store chains, pharmaceutical manufacturers, toilet paper companies, stuff people need when the economy crashes, when wars break out, when pandemics hit. Norway's sovereign wealth fund follows this exact playbook. Their portfolio includes utilities and staple producers that generate steady returns year after year. While you're betting on the next Tesla, they're buying the companies that make the lithium for Tesla's batteries. While you're trading meme stocks, they're purchasing the warehouses where Amazon stores your packages. Every single purchase decision gets filtered through one brutal question: will this matter in 50 years? That new BMW you want? Worthless in 10 years. That designer watch? Nobody will care in 20 years. But farmland in Nebraska? People will need food in 2075. Water rights in California? Everyone needs water forever. Oil deposits in Texas? The world runs on energy. They buy assets when everyone else is selling and panicking. During the 2008 housing crash, while regular people lost their homes, old money families bought thousands of properties for pennies on the dollar. They held through the pain. They ignored the headlines screaming about economic collapse. Now those same houses are worth triple what they paid. The compound interest on a 200-year timeline makes Einstein's eighth wonder of the world look like chump change. Here's the math that will blow your mind. If you invest $10,000 at 4% annual returns, a conservative rate similar to what Norway targets for sustainable withdrawals, after 30 years, you have $32,000. But after 200 years, that same investment would have grown to over $100 million. $10,000 becomes $52 million. The Rothschilds and Rockefellers aren't just rich because they started with more money. They're rich because they've been compounding for centuries. Here's their dirtiest trick that banks don't want you copying. They create family banks that loan money to their own businesses. This echoes concepts like Sweden's Meidner Plan, where equity gets issued instead of taxes to gradually transfer ownership. The Rockefeller Family Bank loans money to Rockefeller oil companies at below market rates. They pay themselves the interest. When their businesses make profits, the money stays in the family. When they need cash, they borrow from themselves instead of going to Wells Fargo or Chase. This is how they actually multiply wealth across generations without anyone noticing. They treat wealth like a living organism that must be fed, protected, and carefully managed. Not spent on toys or vacations or status symbols. Your paycheck gets spent on rent, groceries, and car payments. Their money gets invested in assets that produce more money, which gets reinvested into more assets, creating an endless cycle of multiplication. But here's what really separates them from everyone else. The way they think about money creates completely different behaviors that most people can't even comprehend. The mindset that builds dynasties: new money screams, "Look at me," while old money whispers, "Look away." This isn't about being humble. It's about strategy. When everyone knows you're rich, they want a piece of you. When nobody knows you exist, you can operate in peace. Lottery winners go broke because they think like poor people with money. They buy everything they couldn't afford before: cars, houses, boats, jewelry. Their brains are stuck in scarcity mode, so they hoard material stuff. Within 5 years, most lottery winners are broker than before they won. They never learned the rules of the game. Old money families program their kids differently from birth. These children don't get participation trophies. They don't get instant gratification. They learn delayed gratification like it's a religion. No allowances for doing chores. Money gets earned through real work. No trust fund access until age 30. Some families make their kids work regular jobs before touching family money. Every family dinner includes lessons about legacy, duty, and stewardship. While your family argues about who's paying for pizza, their kids learn about compound interest over dessert. They discuss which senators to support, which universities need donations, which companies to acquire. Politics and finance become dinner conversation before these kids hit puberty. They teach their children that wealth isn't for spending, it's for growing and giving. Spending money is actually seen as failure. These kids grow up thinking differently about every purchase. That $5 coffee? They calculate how much that money could be worth in 30 years if invested properly. Spoiler alert, it's about $150 with compound interest. New money buys Lamborghinis to show off. Old money buys the company that makes the engines. They don't want the flashy car everyone stares at. They want the boring factory that produces steady profits forever. While new money fights over who has the biggest yacht, old money owns the shipyards that build all the yachts. Their kids learn that reputation beats recognition every single time. Recognition fades. Reputation lasts generations. The Rockefeller name still opens doors 150 years later, not because they're famous, but because they're trusted. They value influence over fame because influence actually changes outcomes. Here's what makes your brain hurt. These families see their children as CEO trainees from age 5. Every decision gets analyzed. Every mistake becomes a teaching moment. Many dynastic families introduce financial literacy early, prioritizing formal and informal education that builds networks and understanding. While regular families focus on entertainment, these kids learn how to read balance sheets. They understand something you don't. Money is just a tool. The real game is control. Control over resources, politicians, markets, and information. New money chases numbers on bank statements. Old money chases power over systems that create those numbers. The real difference between old money psychology and how new money thinks about wealth comes down to this brutal truth. Old money sees wealth as responsibility. New money sees it as reward. This changes everything about how they behave, invest, and plan for the future. When you see wealth as reward, you spend it. You deserve that vacation. You earn that car. You worked hard for that house. The money becomes payment for past effort. When you see wealth as responsibility, you protect it. You grow it. You pass it down. The money becomes a trust for future generations. This mindset difference creates completely different investment strategies that most people never understand. New money focuses on getting rich quick. Old money focuses on staying rich forever. New money takes risks to multiply wealth fast. Old money takes calculated risks to preserve wealth across centuries. The strategies are opposite because the goals are opposite. But here's where their patient thinking becomes your biggest enemy. They use their long-term advantage to systematically transfer wealth from people who need money now to people who can wait forever. While you're getting sold mutual funds and index funds, they're playing by completely different rules that banks don't want you copying. The investment playbook they keep secret. Their exclusive investment clubs operate with military precision and zero transparency. Family offices manage their wealth like classified operations, while your financial advisor pushes mutual funds with mediocre returns and high fees. Many retail investors can't access private equity or hedge funds, which are common in sovereign wealth fund portfolios like Alaska's and Norway's, leaving them limited to public mutual funds that charge fees and deliver average performance. Ever wonder why your portfolio crashes while theirs stays steady? It's access, not luck. They have family offices that manage their money with ruthless discipline. These aren't your typical investment firms. They're secretive, strategic, and completely focused on long-term wealth preservation. While your 401k gets destroyed during market crashes, their wealth actually grows during the chaos. The minimum investment for their exclusive deals is usually $10 million. That's not an accident. It's designed to keep the middle class locked out completely. Private equity firms, hedge funds, and venture capital deals all have these massive barriers to entry. Norway's sovereign wealth fund shows how pooling resources can democratize these opportunities, but individual investors remain shut out from the same deals that build generational wealth. They buy entire apartment buildings while you argue about house prices. While you're calculating mortgage payments for a single house, they're purchasing 200-unit complexes with cash. They become your landlord. Your rent payment goes directly into their pockets. Every month, you're making them richer while building zero wealth for yourself. Their family offices diversify across countries, currencies, and centuries-old businesses. They own Swiss banks, German factories, and Japanese shipping companies. They buy government bonds from stable countries and real estate in growing cities worldwide. When one economy crashes, they profit from others. When one currency weakens, they're protected by others. They invest in companies that have been profitable for 100 years or more, not the hot new startup that might fail next year. They own boring businesses like funeral homes, waste management companies, and utility providers. These businesses make money regardless of economic conditions. People always need electricity, trash pickup, and eventually funeral services. Their private banks loan money to their own businesses at below-market rates. The Rockefeller family bank loans money to Rockefeller companies. They pay themselves the interest. When their businesses make profits, the money stays in the family. It's like having a money printer that never stops running. They get insider information through their networks of politicians, CEOs, and government officials. They know about policy changes before they're announced. They understand market movements before they happen. They position their investments accordingly while you're reading outdated news articles. They invest in scarcity, land that can't be reproduced, water rights that become more valuable as populations grow, rare earth minerals that power technology, human necessities that never go out of style. While you're chasing growth stocks that might double, they're buying assets that will definitely appreciate over decades. They own the infrastructure that supports modern life: airports, shipping ports, toll roads, and communication towers. Every time you use these services, you're paying them. They've positioned themselves to profit from the basic functions of society. The most brutal part? They use your own money against you. Your pension fund, 401k, and savings account get loaned to their businesses. Banks take your deposits and loan them to old money families at low rates. Then they charge you higher rates for credit cards and mortgages. But this patient money strategy creates something far more sinister than just investment advantages. Their ability to wait decades for perfect opportunities systematically destroys your chance to build wealth. And the mechanics behind this wealth transfer will make your blood boil. How patient money crushes working people. They're playing chess while everyone else plays checkers, and the game is rigged from the start. Income inequality isn't some accident of capitalism or bad luck. It's the predictable result of their patient strategy working exactly as designed. While you scramble for immediate cash to pay bills, they can wait decades for the perfect opportunity to strike. Every economic crash follows the same brutal pattern. Regular people panic and sell everything cheap. Old money families swoop in with cash and buy distressed assets for pennies on the dollar. The 2008 housing crisis, they purchased thousands of foreclosed homes while families lost everything. Now those same houses rent for triple the mortgage payments, creating permanent wealth transfer from renters to owners. This contrasts sharply with how sovereign wealth funds like Alaska's and Norway's use patient capital to reinvest for all citizens, rather than concentrating wealth in private hands. Here's the sick math. During the Great Recession, household wealth dropped by $16 trillion. Where did that money go? It didn't disappear. It moved from desperate sellers to patient buyers with cash reserves. Old money families bought entire neighborhoods, office buildings, and struggling businesses during the panic. When markets recovered, they owned everything and everyone else owned nothing. They lobby for tax laws that favor investment income over wages. Capital gains taxes are lower than income taxes on purpose. Your paycheck gets hammered with payroll taxes, state taxes, and federal taxes. Their investment profits get taxed at lower rates. The system literally punishes people who work for money and rewards people whose money works for them. A significant portion of retail retirement capital ends up in funds managed by large institutional investors, which often include legacy family offices. This drives fees out of individual pockets and into managed portfolios. Those expense ratios and management fees you pay flow to investment firms where old money families maintain influence. You're paying them to manage your retirement money poorly while they use better strategies for themselves. The housing crisis created the perfect wealth transfer machine. They bought thousands of single-family homes with cash during the crash. Now they rent those homes back to the same people who lost them. Your rent payment builds their wealth while you build nothing. They turned homeownership into a subscription service where you pay forever, but never own anything. Their networks and influence through philanthropic foundations and think tanks give them early visibility on policy shifts. When they're ready to buy, they know interest rates will stay low and cash will stay cheap. When they want to sell, they position themselves before rates go up and credit tightens. They create the conditions that force you to sell low and buy high. Your student loans, credit card debt, and mortgage payments flow into investment portfolios they influence. Banks package your debt and sell it to funds where they maintain stakes. Your monthly payments become their monthly income. You're literally paying them to keep you trapped in debt. They use your desperation against you. When you need money now for emergencies, repairs, or opportunities, you sell assets cheap or take expensive loans. When they need money, they borrow against their assets at low rates or sell when markets are high. Desperation creates bad financial decisions. Patience creates perfect timing. The system creates artificial scarcity for working people while creating artificial abundance for patient capital. You compete for jobs, houses, and opportunities with limited money and tight deadlines. They compete with unlimited money and unlimited time. It's like playing poker where they see your cards and you're playing blind. Conclusion: you can't build a dynasty overnight, but you can start thinking like one today. Buy that reliable used Lexus instead of the flashy new car payment. Choose quality Ralph Lauren basics over trendy garbage that falls apart. Start thinking in decades, not months. Adopt their long-term mindset even with small amounts. Consider creating your own mini wealth fund with friends or family members. Pool resources to access better investment opportunities that require higher minimums. Even disciplined, patient investing on a small scale can mimic old money's compounding advantage over time. The revolution isn't coming from the streets. It's coming from people who understand how wealth really works. Every dollar you don't waste on status symbols is a dollar that compounds for your future generations. Craving more deep dive financial investigations? You're in the right place. Smash that like button if this video gave you something to think about. Subscribe now so you never miss a story that challenges the system and empowers your financial future. Share this with someone who needs to hear the truth. Your support fuels the research, the editing, and every story we uncover. And I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. I read every single one, and your voice helps shape what comes next.